In this video, we head to Horton Plaza, located on Broadway between 3rd and 4th Streets in San Diego. Horton Plaza was the western terminus of Highway 80, as well as some other early 20th century highways. As 2020 is Horton Plaza's 150th birthday, we figured this was a good time to pay it a visit. Entering the park from 3rd Street, the first thing we come across is one of those El Camino Real bells. There's a little plaque at the bottom, but it doesn't say what year the bell was placed there. Horton Plaza was not on El Camino Real, but you'll find these bells all throughout California, whether the location was on the road or not. In fact, my dad even has one in his backyard. When Alonzo Horton built the Horton House in 1870, he included a 1/3 block plaza as part of the hotel. The plaza quickly became a gathering place for San Diegans. While the plaza was neglected and became a haven for homelessness in the late 20th century, in 2011 it was redeveloped into this current park. Since 1909, the centerpiece of Horton Plaza has been this fountain, designed by Irving Gill. We'll take a look around the fountain. All around the fountain there are plaques, one for Alonzo Horton, one for Juan Cabrillo, and one for Father Junipero Serra. Unfortunately, the water jets are shooting right at the plaques, so you can't really get a good look at any of the faces on the plaques as water is hitting the founders of the city right in the face. I'm not sure if it's always been like that or if the jets just need a little bit of repositioning. If you notice, a lot of the buildings in the background have their windows boarded up. I should note that this video was filmed shortly after the protests over the killing of George Floyd. Starting in the 1870s, concerts would be frequently held at Horton Plaza, and with the remodel of the park into its current state in 2011, concerts have returned. As you can see, they built this amphitheater area just south of the main park portion. And you can see the Horton Plaza Mall in the background being partially demolished. And that is the Balboa Theater on the left, which is thankfully staying. Now, the Horton Plaza Mall was a pretty popular shopping spot in the 80s and 90s, but has been largely abandoned over the last few years. Now, as we come back into the park area, we're going to come across a monument that is a point of some controversy. In fact, depending on when you're watching this video, this monument may not actually be at Horton Plaza Park anymore. The stone monument you see in front of us was dedicated on November 17, 1923 by President Calvin Coolidge. I should add, Calvin Coolidge didn't dedicate it in person, but pressed a button in Washington, D.C. that rang a gong in San Diego. The monument is for the Southern Transcontinental Highway, which San Diegan Colonel Ed Fletcher was instrumental in getting routed to San Diego. This side notes it as the end of the Old Spanish Trail, but we'll get back to that in just a minute. Herein lies the problem. The highway was the Lee Highway, named after General Robert E. Lee. As you can see, there is a logo for the Lee Highway right there on the monument, where you can still make out the word Lee. And underneath it says Washington to San Diego. And here's where it mentions being dedicated by President Calvin Coolidge on November 17, 1923. Now back to the other side where it talked about being a monument for the Old Spanish Trail. The San Diego Union Tribune from November 18, 1923 makes no mention of the Old Spanish Trail in its article about the monument. So I'm only guessing that that portion was added later, maybe to hide the fact that it was part of the Lee Highway. I'm not sure, but my guess is that monument is not long for that park. And that's San Diego's Horton Plaza Park in June of 2020. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and we'll see you next week.